Now let's begin with the August 1st nationwide planned protest. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, and the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, on Wednesday met with ministers over a planned nationwide protest against economic hardship by youth. The meeting was convened behind closed doors and had all the over 40 ministers in the President's cabinet in attendance. Some of the ministers spotted were Nielsen Wike of the FCT, Yusuf Tugar, Foreign Affairs, Zephaniah Gisalo, Special Duties, Tahir Maman, Education, and Abubakar Bagudu, Budget and Planning. Others include Wale Aduma, Finance, Mohammed Idris, Information, Bello Matawale, Defense, and David Umahi of Works, amongst others. Information Minister Idris, who briefed the media after meeting, pleaded with Nigerians to give the government more time to address the economic challenges in the country. Now, the leaders of the National Association of Nigerian Students and Campus Leaders in Lagos State held a press conference in support of the Lagos State government and their efforts to promote better education attainment. They spoke on the action of the planned nationwide protest, which will take place August 1st, as an action they won't be a part of due to their trust in the current administration.
Together here today, I want to address the pressing concerns that have led to the contemplation of a protest. While it is our democratic right to voice our concerns, it is equally important to acknowledge the strides and successes achieved through the collaborative efforts of the Lagos State government, particularly through the Ministry of Tertiary Education.
Mr. Governor Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu has always been a father, a principal, and also the union patron. He has really been serving the union in several capacities so as to ease the economic hardship on them. Recently, the governor announced the increment of bursary and scholarship from 50,000 naira to 60,000 naira, which is a commendable one. And also, scholarship payments from 200,000 to 225,000. It is with this, we the Junior Student Association said no to the August 1st protest.
Now, amidst call for nationwide protests, non-indigenous communities in Borno State have opted for a different approach. Fearing the potential escalation of tensions and division, communities representatives have voiced their strong preference for dialogue as a means of addressing grievances and promoting national progress. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
A major issue in the Nigerian public sphere is whether or not there will be protest, as has been widely touted, come the first week of August. The fact is, Nigerians are concerned about the high cost of living, from foodstuffs to petrol, among others. This is believed to have been a consequence of government policies on subsidy withdrawal, among others. Non-indigenous persons in Nigeria's northeast state of Borno on Tuesday converged to call for proactive measures to avoid tension in the country.
I will call on those people that are planning this strike and this protest to please forget it, to think of the repercussion may not be good. There was never a protest that ended well. In most cases, they turned out to be very bloody. When Kenya started, it was just like what they are going to do for an hour. Today, it has become a very serious disaster.
That maybe you think that you don't have father, you don't have mother, somebody will now call you to give you money so that you go and strike your city, which maybe along the line, it may come back. So I'm pleading to Nigerians, please, let's join our hands together and pray for our nation.
These accumulated things, and in course of governance, there are bound to be potholes, and the government is trying to fill the potholes, which they did not create or did they cause. Sometimes natural things cause the situation. So in right parties, for them to pray and give everything to God.
They voiced their support for initiatives that promote understanding and harmony, urging fellow Nigerians to join hands in building a stronger, more cohesive society.
You see the sheer enormity of violence in Kenya. That country can never recover in the next 20 years. If you see the kind of buildings that has been destroyed. What happened in Libya? What happened in Tunisia? What happened in Sudan? What happened in Syria? There is no place that violence has taken place that it has ended peacefully the way it started. And after we have gone through this history of misery of the Boko Haram insurgency, are we ready again to be used as cannon fodder to cause problems? Because when this thing begins, you will never know where it's going to end.
For this group of people, inclusivity and cooperation is what is needed to overcome challenges. As such, they appealed for unified effort towards a better future for all Nigerians. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
And now to discuss this further, I am joined by Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, Elvis Akpobi, and Public Affairs Analyst Ibrahim Amarawa, who might join us after. But Elvis, good afternoon. Good of you to join us here today.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Now, Elvis, with all indications, do you think the planned protest will hold despite the president's plea and appeal to organizers, given the current public sentiment and the traction the protests has gained on social media? What is your take?
For me, I don't have every information to say if it will hold or not hold, but at the moment, that's what I know, that protest is a democratic right of citizens. I also know that Nigeria is sitting on a keg of gunpowder should that protest hold, because there's tension in the land, and oftentimes I don't want to say Nigeria that will look like Kenya. So I would like to take it back to history, the EndSARS protest. A lot of families are still yet to get over the grief of their loved ones, and till date there are some persons that didn't see their loved ones, and oftentimes it's young people that are really the vehicles of all this, that are the victims of these issues. Let's not forget too that there are those playing political shares that want to use young people to hijack the protest. Because I just came back from Canada, and while I was there, I noticed LCDA, is it their liquid bought something? They protested because it's their right, and even police were escorting them, accompanying them while they were doing this protest. But back in Nigeria, there's already tension everywhere, and I want to also appeal to the security agencies. In as much as I will commend them for what they're doing, they should gather their intelligence, because I know there are people out there who want to hijack this protest. Even as I also believe that this is not what we need. There's room for dialogue. While I still want to reiterate that those who contracted governance with our vote should know that they signed the oath to protect lives and properties, create an enabling environment for people, mostly young people, who make up a large populace of this country today. Create an environment where they can live their dreams, where they can, work, earn money, and live a life. But today, you see, there's hunger, there's inflation. I was told just this morning I noticed that when I got there, I noticed that there's increment on.
Hello, Elvis. I think. Okay, good. Elvis,
so for me, I want to say. Hello.
Yes, Elvis. We lost you there for a minute, Elvis. But Elvis,
okay.
we got everything that you said. I wanted to further ask about the federal government's meeting, the emergency meeting that has been called to address the protest. What measures do you think this meeting is going to discuss? What are they going to implement, perhaps?
I am half annoyed and I'm overwhelmed ashamed that the promises that were made during the electioneering doesn't seem to be playing out. It's just excuses that we met a government, we met in Nigeria that is like this, we will not do it overnight. And let them not forget too that they were not elected to make excuses. They were elected to profile solutions that were faced with in Nigeria. In as much as I'll give President Bola Ahmed Tinubu kudos for inclusivity, mostly with the young people, which is my primary constituency. I want him to, him and his team, they should make policies that will make life easy for the average Nigeria. Because lately, the high rate of people going to, grab an international passport, escape Nigeria, is becoming very, very high. Not because the young people know what they want to go and do there. You see cases where someone will just touch down a particular country, is not sure how he's going to live in that country. He will make a video and will be so happy that he left his own country. So for me, there's no better place than Nigeria. But those who contacted governors with our votes should make Nigeria habitable. In as much as I will still reiterate that it's a wrong timing to embark on a protest at the moment.
Okay, so you spoke about what you witnessed in Canada. You said you witnessed the protests of the FCDA. But let's bring it back to Nigeria and talk about the federal government proposing dialogue. And the youth, however, nobody's absolutely sure exactly what kind of expressions would happen during the protests. What advice do you have for the youth who have been proposed to a system of dialogue, but who are still insistent on going on this protest? What would you advise them? Well, judging from your experience from outside the country.
I've always reiterated on every platform I find myself that when you don't give young people the opportunity to use their energy properly, when you don't harness their talent and all that, they use their energy negatively. That's what we're faced with in Nigeria today. A handful of young persons, they've gone through the 4 walls of school, they have skills, they're jobless. It's always a caution of, do you know this person or you don't know this person? You can't get what you really merit. So, I still want to re-echo it that young people should not make themselves vehicle of violence. I know protest is our fundamental right because we're running a democratic process, but at the moment, we don't want to have another Kenya. Let's create room for dialogue, because I already know that the government, they're already feeling a pain, they're feeling the pulse. They want to bring it back to my state, Delta State. I think my governor, Right Honorable Sheriff Obori, is working around the clock to make sure there's room for dialogue, because he knows the consequences of an hijacked protest in Delta State. Basically, Delta State will not want to be, we're faced with a lot of infrastructural development at the moment. We don't want to be on the news negatively. And I think so for Nigeria too. So I want to call everybody, every young person out there. I know it's not easy out there, but let's create room for dialogue. Let's play the role we need to play as Nigerians to make Nigeria better, to make Nigeria.
Okay, then Elvis, let me put you on hold for a minute. We have been joined by Ibrahim Amarawa. He is a current affairs analyst. Ibrahim, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Right off the bat, Ibrahim, I have a question. Good. So the IG referenced the last EndSARS protests and its aftermath. So my question to you is, what lessons can be learned from that protest in Nigeria, and how might these inform the government's and the law enforcement's approach to the upcoming planned protest?
Okay, thank you very much. I think
Unfortunately, we cannot hear you there, Ibrahim. My apologies. But Elvis, I'm hoping that you heard. If you don't mind, Ibrahim, if you can hear me, if you can take out your earpiece, perhaps maybe we'll have better audio. But let me redirect this back to you, Elvis, if you're still there. Elvis, talking about the reference to EndSARS, what could we or what have we learned, whether as law enforcement or as Nigerian authority, from the past protests, and what can be applied to that of the upcoming protest come August 1st, if it holds?
I want to believe that the president did due diligence to appoint security heads and all that. And I want to also, I want to commend the security heads, the security agencies for, protecting lives and properties. They must have done their visibility studies. I was meant to understand that the National Security Advisor had a meeting with ministers and all that. From, like I said, the last, the EndSARS protest, we recorded a lot of young people who lost their lives. Those are the future of this country, and we will not want that this time around. So everybody knows the tensions are high. So I want to urge everybody who's made promises during election period, who were contracted, who were given trust, their vote, to, look for a way to come to get a middle ground with the people that are planning to play, mostly the young people. There should be room for dialogue. That what do you want? What is itching you? How can we solve this whole thing? Because, like I've always said, no singular person owns this country. We all, it's a collective effort. We all own this country as people. Mostly with the young people. We need to play a role in it too. But those who contracted governance should make policies that will make Nigeria habitable for young people.
So most of our expressions have been targeted at the youth who are about to go on this strike, but we seem to be conditioning the youth, telling them what to do or not to do come the protest. But little is being said toward the authorities or people in law enforcement. So I want to ask this question right now regarding this protest, and from everything that we have learned from before, if we are to perhaps maybe get the difference between the word protest and violence, for instance, because it seems to be the one thing that's on everybody's mind who's in law enforcement or the authorities, the worry of violence breaking out inside of the protest. What do you have to say about that difference in the right to protest and then where it becomes unlawful if it turns out violent?
Like I said, I know they must have done their due diligence and gotten their intelligence report and all that. By now, I think they should know if should that protest take place, if it will be hijacked, those people that are planning this hijack and all that. So for me, in as much as I wouldn't want a protest for our country at this moment, because I don't want a second occurrence from what just happened in Kenya to happen in Nigeria, because I know Nigeria's own will be overblown. But I think, should it happen, the security agencies, mostly those that are not on uniform, should even be on that peaceful march with them, so people don't hijack whatever is going to happen that day. But still, we don't need any form of protest at the moment. Let's get to the table of dialogue and let's have a middle ground. While I want to also urge those that have been contracted governance to with votes that the excuses are becoming too much. Let's make policies. They should make policies that will solve problems for Nigeria. Every day things keep going, getting worse, which is not good for our country.
All right then, Elvis, thank you very much. Preaching dialogue there. Let's see if we can still talk to Ibrahim Amarawa. Ibrahim, are you with us now? Do we have a clear signal with you?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Right.
Grand. So Ibrahim, I'm going to stick to the one question I asked from before regarding law enforcement and the authorities, what they've learned from the past NSAS protest from 2020 and the upcoming one, what they could infuse into this situation as they've learned from before.
I think as I will focus more attention to speak to the present administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu should not in any allow this kind of protest to happen in our country. As you know, we are one of the countries with the highest number of jobless young people roaming the streets. And even though the young people call it a peaceful protest, but there are ongoing fear it may turn violent because of such a huge number of unemployed youth roaming the street in our country. So, and again, in the other part, I am calling on the security apparatus to conduct their duties with the utmost following the rules of and regulation of the country, instead of intimidating, to ensure that the peaceful did not turn violent, and to also ensure that the security agencies coordinate and conduct and support the young people to speak out to the government with the language they clearly understand. But what we are seeing in Kenya is there was a deep concern to any Nigerians, because if this kind of protest begins in our country, I think they may not know the end of it, considering what happened during Buhari administration, during NSAS started in Lagos to some parts, some cities in northern Nigeria. But at the end of the day, they started peacefully, and they have organized protests with leaders that can negotiate with the government. But for now, the recent arrangement is like there's faceless leaders of this protest. Nobody will, the government will also hold responsible. So for me, the current administration should do the needful to speak to Nigerian youth, especially I'm calling on Mr. President to speak to Nigerian youth, even though we have seen 15 months rather, for his administration. But I think Nigerian youth, they are not seeing a clear direction of this government.
Ibrahim,
that's the reason.
I want to say thank you. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, especially because of that little technical issue we had. But thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank
and
you.
also thank you very much, Elvis.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Now let's go on a very short break. When we come back, more news inside the hour. Welcome back. Residents of Olokuta Road in Ori community of Ogun State are calling on the state government to attend to the major road in the area. The road which leads to the Wole Soyinka train station is in a terrible state, thus making it difficult for travelers to access the train station. Our correspondent Bernard Akede now joins us from Ogun State. Hello Bernard, good afternoon. Unfortunately there, we are unable to reach Bernard. We will reach him on a later opportunity. Moving on now to more news coming your way this afternoon. The National Counterterrorism Center Office of the National Security Advisor announced on Wednesday that the government has resumed mass trials of terrorism suspects. In a statement by Abu Michael, head of strategic communications for NCTCONSA, it was revealed that the trials will adhere to the international criminal justice system. Michael stated that at least 300 suspects are currently on trial, with 5 judges presiding over the courts and chambers established for swift justice. He added that the suspects are being represented by lawyers from the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria. Additionally, Michael noted that 800 cases had been reviewed with charges prepared for thorough prosecution. Nigeria's Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has revealed that poor service delivery by electricity distribution companies tops the list of complaints received by the Commission, surpassing all other categories. This disclosure was made during a media briefing in Abuja, where the Commission shared highlights of its activities over the past 7 months. News Central's Joshua Emmanuel completes the story.
Service delivery by electricity distribution companies remains the most prevalent amongst complaints received by the Commission over the years. At a press briefing in Abuja, the acting executive vice chairman of the Commission announced that the FCCPC has launched initiatives to enhance transparency and accountability in the sector, addressing the long-standing issues plaguing consumers.
Consequently, complaints about poor service delivery by electricity distribution companies, this is a discourse, by far the highest category of complaints received by FCCPC. The most common consumer complaints in the industry include exploitative billing, unlawful disconnection, non-metering of consumers, lack of transformers, and other salient issues.
The acting executive vice chairman says that the Commission conducted major reviews to prevent anti-competitive practices, protecting consumer choices by stopping large companies from unfairly acquiring smaller rivals.
The Commission conducted a series of major reviews to prevent anti-competitive practices in mergers and acquisitions, helping to preserve consumer choices by preventing large companies from unnecessarily acquiring smaller competitors and restricting options. From inception, the Commission has received a total of 294 transactions, out of which 22 were approved in 2024, while 8 applications are currently being reviewed.
He says that the $200 million fine imposed on Meta Platforms Incorporated, also owners of Facebook and WhatsApp, was due to discriminatory practices and sanctionable offenses uncovered during a 3-year intensive investigation. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
And now back to our story about the residents of Olokuta Road in Ori Community, Ogun State, with the deplorable state of roads in the area. A warning for our viewers to please expect delay, as I will be speaking with our correspondent Bernard Akede, who is on ground right now. Bernard, good afternoon once again. Good of you to join us on the news. So, Bernard, I'm going to go straight ahead and ask you what things are, the situation of things right now as you can see them yourself.
All right, Mazino, first of all, I'm standing in front of the Professor Wole Soyinka train station in Ogun State, Abeokuta. I haven't taken the train right down here before, but I hear that it's a really cool journey and a wonderful experience. However, it's an entirely different story when you get here. And the fact is that there is a bridge just behind me over there. I'll zoom in so you can see that bridge. Now, all the way from that bridge down to where I'm standing, you can see that the road is actually tarred, making accessibility a bit easy for people making it down to the train station here. Unfortunately, the part of the story that most people don't get to hear is that from that bridge down to here, up until where I'm going to walk to, at least where your eyes can see, just about 1 kilometer journey or about 1 kilometer radius is the most you will get of the tarred road. And after that, it's completely unmotorable. It's all the way down, follow the light post. Now I'm here with Mr. Semiu Ademola, who's going to explain to me better, and you may just see some of the footage of what the road looks like after this 1 kilometer of tarred road. Beyond that, it's completely different. Mr. Ademola, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So I saw the road after there, and I was saying to myself, the road is bad. But you said something else, that there's no road entirely. What do you mean by that?
Good afternoon, viewers. My name is Musba Semiu Ademola, a resident of Orioshoko, the host community to Professor Wole Soyinka train station, a middle train station between the Lagos-Ibadan train line. And to the glory of God, we have this project cited here, but the most unfortunate part of it is that instead of it being a blessing to the host communities, other way around. And when you were discussing with me, I told you there's a difference between having a road or a bad road, or there is no road at all. Here we don't have a linking road to the station, and this is a multi-million-dollar project, an international one at that, one of the very few in West Africa. But we don't have a road. We don't have a linking road. There is no road at all. If you are moving from FMC or the bus stop there, that is the nearest bus stop there, which is Olokuta bus stop along Ajebo Abekuta Ibadan Express Road, it will just take you 5 minutes at the road is motorable. But there is no existing road at all because the gully has damaged the road. We don't have a road. And this community that is hosting is just at the middle. We have more than 28 communities here, from the entrance down to the last point of the road. From this that you just mentioned, that maybe you've shown the people at home, but from Olokuta down to the federal housing estate, the proposed housing estate there is no road at all.
Now, Mazino, just before I leave you, while we were there speaking to some of the residents who live along that, I was going to say bad road again, but like he said, non-existent road, they were explaining how the road has impacted their lives negatively in the past few years, and how they were expectant that the siting of this project would bring development, particularly economic development, to this area. Unfortunately, the reverse is the case. Can you tell us what the non-existent road has done, or the dilapidating state of that particular road that's supposed to link this train station, what it has done to people's lives and businesses?
Well, let me come by this. The host local government of this project is Obafemi Ewode, and it is known to everybody in Ogun State that Obafemi Ewode is an agrarian local government. But apart from agricultural activities, we have more than 5 giant projects of national and international repute. One of them is Federal Medical Center, and the other one is OGTV, Chrisland University, and some other landmark project like that. But you know, first of all, most of us are farmers. We don't have an access road to either come in or transport our goods back to the city. You know, you are living here. You have a pregnant wife. You are expected to link the Federal Medical Center in less than 5 minutes, but there's no road. It will take you 35 minutes, 1 hour before you get to Federal Medical Center, a journey that's supposed to be less than 10 minutes. Apart from the economic, the living standard is below expectation, because if you don't have access road, you may be saying you drive, but if you are spending 30,000-40,000 to repair your car, to maintain your car monthly, that is a negative impact on your financial activities.
All right, thank you so much. Now, the irony of the whole thing, Mazino, just before I leave you, is the fact that just about a month or two ago, we saw glamorous pictures and videos coming out from Ogun State, the Ojude Oba Festival. I was there personally, and it was fantastic. But this is the side of the state that nobody has actually talked about. So if there's beauty coming out of this state, there's industrialization coming out of this state, you would expect that infrastructure that will lead to the success of these things would equally be as fantastic as these particular things that we. Just 1 minute.
I'm sorry. Let me appreciate Mr. Governor, the governor of Ogun State, but in other way around, he's trying to fix a road that linked to the immigration center, in which is not the best option, because the road it's linking to residential areas that is of no economic or security value to us. But this major road is what we are expecting either the federal government or the state government to come to our aid. Very urgent as it is. God bless you.
Thank you, Mazino. So there you have it. The people are excited that the governor is doing some work, but they are saying it may be directed, towards the wrong place. They believe that it should start from here first, so that the lives of the people are immediately impacted before we begin to talk about other facilities. And that is the state.
Well, Bernard, thank you very much. A very interesting package there. And of course, thank you for also giving us a very interesting interview with the guest you had on there. Thank you, Bernard. Moving on now. Stakeholders in Abuja have called on the federal government to establish a comprehensive methane emission reduction strategy, saying it will unlock the nation's vast natural resources. This was during a recent multi-stakeholder dialogue in Abuja, which focused on strengthening methane emission reduction strategies in Nigeria's gas expansion plans. News Central's Joshua Emirate completes the story.
It was a gathering of government officials and industry experts who converged to discuss strategies aimed at reducing Nigeria's methane footprint, crucial for aligning with international climate goals. Stakeholders at the gathering say immediate action is needed to prevent increasing methane emissions from the nation's oil and gas sector, especially as government aims to expand domestic gas use and export.
Energy transition comes with a lot of risks and opportunities. But for us as a country that depends heavily on oil and gas revenue for survival, we are more concerned of how to manage these risks, mitigate the risks, and then maximize the opportunities. But now we are focusing on identifying those risks, finding solutions, and control of emissions.
There's a national gas policy, but it doesn't accommodate any transition components. Decade of Gas doesn't do that as well, around methane emissions reduction. So we need to see that synergy between all the different institutions, government institutions that are leading on these issues. So more collaboration to ensure that Nigeria is able to holistically reduce the methane emissions and achieve its climate goals, but also ensure that it's adopting policies that also benefit its citizens.
Stakeholders at the event emphasized the need for widespread education on methane emissions and their impacts, urging Nigerians to effectively monitor and understand methane emissions reduction strategies.
The idea is to ensure that methane emission reduction strategy is driven by knowledge, that everybody gets to know what it is so that they are able to track what if Nigeria is on track, in its methane emission reduction strategy. So we are very optimistic that this dialogue would, of course, with a lot of experts and subject matter experts here today, has broadened the minds and the knowledge base of participants, and hopeful that this would also improve the way they carry on this work in their various offices and institutions.
Climate advocates at the gathering urged the government to forge partnership with the private sector and other stakeholders to develop and implement clear-cut strategies, ensuring swift action and robust enforcement to enhance Nigeria's methane reduction efforts before the window of opportunity closes. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
The news continues in East Africa, where Kenyan President William Ruto has named 4 prominent opposition politicians to join a broad-based cabinet following over a month of anti-government protests. On Wednesday, Ruto announced 10 new ministers, including 4 close allies of veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga. This comes after submitting another list of 10 ministers to Parliament on Tuesday. Ruto, facing political turmoil, had dismissed nearly his entire cabinet on July 11 and announced a new partial lineup on July 19th, which included some previously dismissed ministers. The 4 opposition nominees are John Mbadi for the Treasury, James Opio Wandayi for Energy, Ali Joho for the Mining Ministry, and Wycliffe Oparanya as head of the Cooperatives Ministry. However, these nominations must be approved by Parliament.
I commend the leadership of diverse organizations, both in public and private sectors, including political parties, for their encouraging response to my outreach to consult on forming a broad-based government. Their willingness to set aside partisan positions and interests in order to join a visionary partnership for the radical transformation of Kenya is a historic gesture of their patriotism.
Rescuers, aided by drones, continued their desperate search on Wednesday for possible survivors of devastating landslides in an isolated area of southern Ethiopia. This comes as humanitarian agencies are scrambling to deliver emergency relief aid to the stricken community, marking the deadliest such incident in Ethiopia, a country highly vulnerable to climate-related disasters. According to the Gopher Zone Communications Affairs Department, 148 men and 81 women have been confirmed dead in the remote and mountainous region. The United Nations Humanitarian Agency, OCHA, reports that about 14,000 people need urgent evacuation due to the risk of further landslides. The disaster has reportedly claimed 229 lives and affected thousands more. In South Africa, Nigerians in South Africa protested outside Boksburg Court in Johannesburg, demanding justice for a Nigerian who was killed in 2023 and also torturing Onyedikachi Iroka to coma. The 4 Boksburg North police officers were back in the dock at the Boksburg Magistrate Court for trial. They were arrested by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate in connection with 2 separate incidents. According to the IPID spokesperson Lizzie Sopeng, the 4 were initially charged with assault with the intent to do grievous bodily harm and defeating the ends of justice. Earlier, our South Africa correspondent Bongani Sisiba spoke to some Nigerians on the development.
We are here for the brutality against Nigerians, the killing against Nigerians. So we are not happy. That is why we are here. And justice must be done for us to cover us because we are law-abiding citizens. We are here lawfully. We have our documents. We do our businesses. So they must protect us. Thank you.
I don't have much view and much to say. Like my brother said, the law must take its own. The South African laws must treat Nigerians according to the way their laws is. You know, we are here on the court today, and unfortunately they postponed the case. We are waiting for the next time we are appearing on the court to see how the case will go forward.
The United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer faces his first House of Commons grilling on Wednesday after suspending 7 of his own Labour MPs for rebelling over a controversial welfare policy. Starmer's suspension suspended the Labour rebels late Tuesday after they backed a motion demanding the removal of the contentious 2-child limit on benefits introduced by the previous Conservative government. Their votes supporting ending the cap introduced in 2015 and which restricts payments to the first 2 children born to most families is an early test of Starmer's authority. Starmer's decision to suspend the whip from the group of left-wingers, which included former finance spokesperson John McDonnell, was seen as a show of ruthlessness from his new administration. And sad news from Nepal, where a passenger plane carrying 19 people crashed during takeoff earlier today. The pilot has survived, but many others on board are feared dead. The Surya Airlines flight was carrying 17 staff members and 2 crew when it crashed at about 11:15 a.m. local time. The plane was conducting a technical or maintenance flight, but details are still unclear. Images from the scene show the plane's fuselage split apart and burnt, with soldiers assisting in rescue efforts. The cause of the crash is still unknown, but reports suggest the plane caught fire after skidding on the runway.
म यो ट्रेन एक्सिडेन्ट हुँदा म पसलभित्र थिएँ एकदम ठुलो आवाज आयो यो सडकमा चाहिँ मैले ट्रक पल्टाए जस्तो आवाज आयो कि त्यो दुई टुक्रा भएपछि हामी पनि भाग्यौँ भागेर उता जाँदाखेरि त्यसको बिचमा यहाँ आइपुग्यो प्लेन यतापट्टि आइपुग्यो आगो लागिसकेपछि हामी त्यहाँ आगो लागेको ठाउँमा जान लागेको थियौँ एकदम विस्फोट भएपछि फेरि भागेर यतैबाट फर्केर आयौँ।
Business now. The Nigerian Senate on Tuesday passed the amendment bill of the 2023 Finance Act, increasing the windfall levy on banks, foreign exchange re-evaluation gain from the proposed 50% to 70%. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Sani Musa, stated that the levy shall be 70% of the realized profit from all exchange transactions by banks, with penalties for non-payment. The Senate also amended the commencement date to align with the new foreign exchange policy introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria on July 14, 2023, and extended the timeline for applying the windfall levy to 2025 financial year. Additionally, the Senate passed an amendment to the 2024 Appropriation Act, adding 6.2 trillion naira for recurrent expenditure, including the new 70,000 naira minimum wage and infrastructure projects. However, the proposal has faced criticism from tax advisory bodies and legal experts, citing concerns over retroactive taxation, unpredictability, and potential legal disputes. And now sports. Nigeria's representatives, Edo Queens, have been placed in Group B, where they will face Ghana's Massacres ladies, along with Omnisports Etincelles and AC Grande Nacional. In Group A, Inter of Ivory Coast, Ainonvi FC, and AS Koza make up the 3 teams lineup. Edo Queens earned their place as Nigeria's representatives after triumphing in the playoffs round of the Nigeria Women's Football League. And now tennis. Tennis star Coco Gauff will join LeBron James as a flag bearer for the U.S. Olympic team at Friday's opening ceremony. Gauff, the reigning U.S. Open champion, is set to make her Olympic debut at the Paris Games and will be the first tennis athlete to carry the U.S. flag. She and James were chosen by Team USA athletes. Gauff and James, the 39-year-old leading scorer in NBA history, both compete in sports that are outside the traditional Olympic world and get attention year-round. Still on the Olympics, as the Olympics kick off, fans in France are showing a lack of enthusiasm. Despite the grandeur and excitement surrounding the global event, local supporters seem less thrilled about the commencement of the Games. Organizers are hopeful that the spirit will pick up as the event progresses. Over 10,000 athletes are expected to take part, with all hoping to achieve the performance that will earn them a lifelong path to glory.
Je savais qu'il y avait les JO qui allaient commencer, mais je ne savais pas qu'ils commençaient demain à Marseille.
J'ai essayé de faire la déco comme moi je l'entendais, pour faire une petite fan zone, puisqu'on est en face de la marina, hein, bien sûr. Et donc, on va essayer d'attirer le maximum de clients pour pouvoir subvenir à tout le désarroi qu'ils nous ont fait pendant 2 ans et demi, 3 ans.
And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Federal government has a meeting, pleads for more time to address economic challenges. And Kenya's President William Ruto has unveiled new cabinet with 4 opposition members included. We also told you that death toll has risen as search for survivors of Ethiopian deadly landslides continue. To remember now, you can send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screen right now. And do remember to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.